Oftentimes in Superliminal, we're faced with a seemingly even choice between left and right. Typically, we choose one and just stick to it, never giving it a second thought as to whether it's faster or slower than the other side. In this video, I'll be doing a deep dive into all the 50/50s you encounter in a glitchless Superliminal speedrun. Now when it comes to comparing two routes, I'm personally not that good at it. That's why I asked Fibes to help me out with this video. He's provided all of the data and video footage, I'm simply putting it all together here. So I want to give a huge thank you to Fibes. I couldn't have done it without you. Now, a while back in May, I sent out a Google form to poll what people typically use for each 50/50 choice in the game, and I got 27 responses. And honestly, I was a little shocked at how different the opinions were for some of them. I'll show the results of the poll before I reveal which is faster, then I'll give any side notes from me or from Fibes. Up first is the pair of doors at the end of Induction. Most people go right, but one person in the poll goes left. As you can see, the right side is faster by 2.2 seconds since it's a more direct line. This next one applies to several levels, since it's the reception room that you start in, beginning in Optical. Everyone goes left, but let's see the difference anyway. The left side is faster by 1.4 seconds. This one is for the sign ramp room in Optical. Everyone in the poll goes right, but I've seen runners who also go to the left. The difference is less than 1/10 of a second, so this is actually considered a draw. However, the left side is less consistent, so just stick to the right or do whichever is more comfortable for you. For this pair of doors in Optical, it's pretty clear that the right side is faster, and everyone in the poll agrees. But let's see this comparison anyway. The difference is only about 0.2 seconds, but it's an easy choice to go to the right. Moving on to Cubism, this choice of stairs is also pretty clear. Again, everyone in the polls agrees. Going right saves 2.2 seconds over going left. In Blackout, this dark hallway room is actually not symmetrical, so don't be deceived by the fact that the right side is closer to the path afterwards. Whether they know this or not, everyone in the poll goes left. As you can see in this lit up image, the left hall is actually closer than the right, making it faster by 1.3 seconds. Some people have used the pit jump without ever realizing that the real path is to the left. Everyone in the polls goes right, so what would an optimal left path look like? Even with cutting corners, the left is 0.7 seconds slower than the right. For the Blackout maze, you have two choices for how to get into the maze. You can use the box sitting on the floor to the left, or the lower stack to the right. Even when turned around, we'll refer to the standalone box as left and to the lower stack as right. When people do the blind maze, the majority go to the right, since it's easier to find the center of the hall when turned around. Although it may be more difficult to find the standalone box, it's actually faster by 0.7 seconds. When going forward with the light, most take the left path. When done optimally, it's close enough to consider a draw. In Clone, this cloud insert wall looks like it could be a draw, and people typically stick to the left out of habit. In fact, using geometry, you can show that if a wall was centered on a direct line between the doors, both paths would be equal regardless of the angle. However, as you can see here, the wall is not centered since the left is 0.1 seconds faster. The green apple room is another one where people typically go left out of habit, at least based on the poll. This is pretty direct with a short path, so the main time loss depends on how you hit the apple, not which side you take. It's a draw. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the debate that sparked this entire project. Do you go left stairs or right stairs? The poll shows that the vote is a strong majority to the left, but could the right-siders be proven correct after all this time? No, it's literally even. That's it, an actual 50-50. Neither is better, neither is worse. After that incredibly anticlimactic choice, it's time to go to Dollhouse. The only left-right choice in this level is the window, which surprisingly, everyone goes right. Unsurprisingly, it doesn't matter. This is also a draw. At the beginning of Labyrinth, after the audio skips, we find ourselves back in this reception area where a warp trigger is just beyond the same doors we saw earlier. However, now that there's no path afterwards, which side is faster now? Most go left, but a few go right. The right side is technically faster, but not enough to make a noticeable difference. This next lab choice is another cloud insert after jumping into the painting. When entering over the bed, it'll depend on its angle, and everyone goes left. But let's see how it turns out when entering straight on. It's another tie, so thankfully you don't have to worry about the painting's rotation. For the stairs, you can choose to break the floor to the left or to the right. There's a slight divide in opinion, but most go left. Unfortunately, due to the inconsistency of physics, it's difficult to measure properly, so there's no video. However, it's assumed to be a draw since it's all pretty centered. In white space, we have a few center options for a change. The first is this platform that leads to falling down a couple pits. Most people drop off to the left, but a few go straight up the center. As you can see, the left and right are a draw, but the center option is 1.5 seconds slower. This choice is a little more complex than it appears, since the path afterwards leads to the Thunderclap section, which has an invisible trigger out in the distance. When moving through normally without a checkpoint reset, it's pretty even with a slight majority preferring the right. The optimal line for the Thunderclap trigger is perpendicular to the edge of this room, which is why Fibes isn't aiming for anything in particular in the distance. This is close enough to be a draw. When resetting checkpoint, it technically moves you to the right by a smidge, so most people go for the right door. If you don't know why people are resetting a checkpoint here, the short answer is that it saves 2 seconds. The long answer is explained in a different video that I made, linked in the description. If you aren't already doing it, I highly recommend getting into the habit. Even if the right side is faster, it's close enough to call it a draw. For the filing cabinet shadow, there's a third option to go over, which can be done without a ledge grab with proper timing and 60 FPS. Most people either go over or to the right. While going over is the fastest technically, it's not fast enough to risk messing it up. Going left is about 0.2 seconds slower than the right, so just go right. In this room, there's another even split of opinion, where a slight majority prefer the left. Let's see if it matters. As you can see, the dividing wall is pretty centered, and it's a draw. For the blue and red columns, most people go to the right since that's where they're already leaning when they fall into the pit, and it reflects in the poll. And in a shocking twist, the left is actually faster by 1/10 of a second. This is because the exit door is slightly closer to the left side, and the falling time makes it irrelevant which side you enter the pit from. The last choice of the game is one of the most complex, and that's the chessboard. In the poll, I asked about where the majority of time was spent, whether it was the right, the left, or the center column of squares. Most lean to the right, though a few spend the most time in the center. As you can see, the most direct route spends the most amount of time on the right side, then crosses over to the center towards the end. This can be difficult to do optimally, but the right side is about 0.3 seconds faster than the center and 2.7 seconds faster than the left. That about wraps up all the 50-50 choices in Superliminal. I hope it was informative, especially the paths that ended up being different from the ones used in the current top runs. For quick reference, and maybe to include any updates after I release this video, I published a Google Sheet that contains each of these results and any additional comments. Feel free to let me know if you think there's a mistake, or if we missed one. The goal is to sort out all those times we've wondered if a different way is truly faster. Again, I want to thank Fibes for all his help. This turned out really well, and I'm glad to have a source we can all trust. With that, I'm Samwise, and I'll see you in the next video.